Our guy, Shane Mosley Jr.
Our guy?
Yeah.
Hell of performance. The last 5. I don't know why you changed it up.
Yeah, I would say strategy was a bigger concern for me than performance. Just I had Shane winning 4 of the first 5 rounds, and then they like kind of flip the switch and he starts to be more aggressive. And we mentioned before, pretty much every time we've talked about Shane Jr., sweet and low, my man, that when he's more offensive focused, his defense really suffers. And so when they have him push the pace and try to dictate the action, you started to see the defense and Quigley started to I had him winning every one of the last 5 rounds.
Yeah, and I told Shawn I felt like he needs to up the sparring partners. I mean, I'm not going to say that has nothing to do with me. I would love for him and Shawn to share a camp together just so he can get more elite level of sparring and intense for 10 to 12 rounds. Yeah. I don't know how that works, Shawn. I really don't know, but I just feel like he needs more of that.
Sparring is kind of like growing up. And what I mean by that is like as you mature as a young man, I'm sure that we could all look back now at when we were 15 and it's just like, yo, I don't do things the way I used to do when I was 15. And it's like you just go through some things, you know, let's look back to when we're 21. We just aren't the same individuals that we were when we were 21. You never know when that maturation process is going to happen. You never know when it's happening. All you do is you look up and you're like, man, I've gotten better. I'm a little more mature than I used to be, you know? And then you may be able to look back and contribute it to, oh yeah, that happened. And I did learn from that. I don't do that anymore and so on and so forth. So that's how sparring is. So when you get 8 weeks sparring with some high level guys, you may start camp right here. But seeing those fast guys, seeing those guys with the great counters and the good movement around the ring, all that kind of stuff, your body just starts to mature. Your mind and your eyes start to mature. And then next thing you know, you at week 5 or week 6 in camp, and you get with these guys. They step over, you step over right there with them, you know? They throw a right hand, and now you pulling back, doing your thing because you pulled something from those guys. A lot like they said, the old heads kick game.
Like
it's
Kirby.
Like, yeah, like you hear that game all the time, and it don't really show up, and then out of nowhere it shows up. You matured. And the same thing in the boxing ring is like you go through some fights, you go through some camps, and you just start to mature and grow as a fighter. And I do think that if he gets into the camp with other guys who have a higher level of competing and training, a higher level of training in training camp, it will actually pull him up and he'll perform better because he's had to have done that in camp, and it will show up in the ring and fight night.
And you also have, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're going to learn from your opponents and you're going to learn from your sparring partners.
Yeah.
One of those is no risk. Sparring, you have no risk of a bad performance or a loss on your record or anything like that. You just have the ability to learn. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's able to learn in these fights. You know, Brandon Adams, obviously Quigley yesterday. Yeah. But in those fights, you're risking losing because you're processing and gaining more information. So, no, my Kirby analogy I think was strong as far as sparring. You know, absorb different people, things they can teach you. So, he's.
Oh, I didn't get.
You got it.
On time, I'm like,
slow it down.
I thought you was talking about the vacuum.
No, also shout out to Kirby vacuum. But
I let it go.
Yeah, but Shane is very talented. I think the strategy or the game plan is what did him in yesterday. But you can't attribute it to that because you're still in the ring. So if you feel the game plan's off, sometimes as the fighter, Shawn, you can speak to that. Sometimes you have to say, nah, this isn't working. I'm getting tagged a little bit too much. I need to adjust.
Both of you guys said, well, why did he change? Why did he change? He had no reason to change. If it's working, don't try to fix it.
The guy wasn't doing nothing to force him to change.
And what I turned around to you guys and I told a lot of guys in camp, they think that we're going to start at one level and then we're going to switch it up and raise it as the fight continues. You talk about, when you talk about drowning a guy, taking a guy to the deep waters, all that kind of stuff. Basically, the process is we're going to go at one tempo, one speed, rounds 1 through 3 or 4, and then we'll turn up the fire. There's no reason to turn up the fire. I get it. That was what you trained for. But in the moment, you got to realize, like, hey, let's just stay here until he gives us an adjustment to make. But they had their minds in camp mode. And camp mode was, we're going to turn it up and we're going to knock him out near the end of the fight. There was
the 6th round, Sean, he came out. Shane turned it up immediately. Was throwing haymakers. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, you adjusted to not needing to make an adjustment. Like typically we talk about boxing as adjusting to the adjustment. There was no adjustment. It was you were like, all right, I'm going to change this. It's like, wait, what? Why would you do that? Like you're winning the fight, but kind of is what it is.
And I love that part about boxing too, because boxing is just so strategical, and it's so it's very and it's a very intelligent battle. And the funny thing is that the battle is not always with the opponent, and it's not always with sometimes it's with the referee, sometimes it's with, at the end of the fight ends up being with the judges. In this case, I really do think that they worked against themselves to a certain extent. Obviously, you say, hey, Shane's got to know, be able to realize and understand that, hey, this is not working, or, hey, let's dial it back, so on and so forth. So, like you said, Carson, it's a learning lesson, but you hate for those learning lessons to come. And now you got 5 losses and now your back's really against the wall.
Four losses? Yeah, 5? Four.
Yeah. And that was a big tweak, Sean, like big change. Like in the Earl Porter fight, y'all was tweaking something. He tweaked something. You tweaked something. He tweaked something. Yeah. That was just a little bit. He like cranked it up.
Yeah, completely.
There was no reason to go to the max.
Yeah. And one reason why I really love my fight with Errol Spence Jr. is because I think a lot of the tweaking that he and I both were doing were like in the moment. We were both getting very good information in the corner. But I swear to God, like we're in the moment doing stuff, and it's like just adjustment. You know what I mean? So I love that part about boxing, and I love that feeling. There's actually a feeling you get. You can see the other guy performing at a really high level. You're like, let me get with this. You know what I mean? So anyway,
hey, the first 5 rounds, Shane, you look like a hell of you. Yeah, that first 5 rounds, stick to that shit. That's your shit right there.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Don't tell me you didn't enjoy what you saw, because I know you did. What you need to do now, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, hit that notification button. Check us out every week, every Tuesday, something new for you right here on the Porter Way Podcast.